NASCAR's most popular driver, Chase Elliott, is out for multiple weeks with a leg injury. I guess he fractured his tibia.
Tibia.
So, of course, this sparks the debate over drivers and what they should be allowed to do and what they should not be allowed to do. And, I sent a tweet out basically saying that, I would think that most people do things physically because it helps them mentally. And I know that that's the case for myself. I play golf and basketball and pickleball and other sports because mentally I cannot be consumed with racing but for so much. I
Right.
have to unwind from that. And that is my way to still be competitive but yet get racing off the plate for a little while. I'm so busy with running the race team and working on the competition side of that and the business side of that. I've got my 11 team that I'm focused on for at least 3 to 4 days a week. It's just I have to get away from it. I just can't, focus. And some people love racing 7 days a week. I'm never going to be that person. I found in 2010 when I basically choked the 2010 championship away because I was, too focused on, hey, make sure I do everything perfect and right instead of just enjoying it and having fun. Basically, I learned in 2011, like I just went away that off season and I went to Phoenix for the entire off season. I was like, man, this is so much better to not consume myself with so much racing. And I just from that point on, I figured out that I came up with a kind of a schedule and can compartmentalize my life to say this section is for racing, this section is for family, and this section is for having fun. And that's kind of what makes me tick.
When you are participating in those extracurricular activities, could you do quite a bit? Basketball, say is probably the I don't know. I want to say
It's
most dangerous, but
no, it is right from an injury standpoint. I've blown 2 ACLs. 2010, I blew my left ACL. 2014, I blew my right. I had shoulder surgery 2 years ago on my left. I need to get my right done. I should have done it this off season, but I didn't want to be in a sling for weeks. But it's nagging me enough now where I need to get it worked on. So this off season, so essentially two knees, both shoulders, like Now some of this is hereditary. The shoulder thing is hereditary. I can thank my parents for that. My basically whatever bone is up here at the top of my shoulder is growing into my rotator cuff, which is they just gotta basically cut off the edge of that bone right there and relieve the pain. But the knees came from basketball. But I did race right after.
But does when you're doing those things, does the threat of injury ever creep in to the back of
Absolutely.
your head?
No question. Yeah.
Like before you tip off in hoop group every week.
I manage my risk. No question. I try to stay 3-point line to 3-point line, but my competitive spirit will not allow me to back it off but so much. And again, I can't sit here and speculate with Chase Elliott, but if the guy is very comfortable on his edges on a snowboard, he's not going to go down the bunny slopes.
Right.
Right?
And we don't know the details of how he got injured.
We don't.
You have to
we
think-
just have to assume, though, that the competitor of us are just going to do what we normally do and what we're comfortable with.
Yep.
But accidents do happen, right? I mean, sometimes you plant your foot in a wrong spot, and sometimes you hit a mogul that is unplanned, right? Or you just catch an edge. Like, there's just so many different ways it can happen. And for the people on social media just saying, oh, well, you can get hurt walking down the sidewalk, that is the stupidest. Can we just stop with that? There's more risk in extreme sports. So stop saying, well, you can also get hurt walking down the sidewalk. Sure you can, but it's a 0.000000000 chance.
Yes. I think
Where
the
this
point
is
though
it's a higher percentage. So.
Right. I think the point though in that is that like for Chase, right, he could have been run into by somebody else. Someone else could have
Sure.
been not paying attention, right, and runs into him. So it's like one of those things where you can have no control over what happens, right? You could be driving a car to wherever, you get into an accident, it's the other person's fault, and you get
That's
injured
right.
that way. So there's all these
There's
things, right, that can go
tons of
wrong.
ways to get injured,
Yes.
right? And we all know that. And this isn't picking on Chase Elliott because every single person, every driver has their own thing that they do that is a risk to them racing this weekend, right? Now, do I manage my risk a little more in the off season? Do more things? Yeah, probably so. But again, I know the risk I'm taking. Um, I have very good insurance to. I've been through this before. Very good insurance to make sure that if I do miss, that everything is still taken care of. I saw Brad Keselowski posted that hey, he just doesn't get paid. I was gonna text Brad. I was like, surely you have some like good liability insurance to cover all that. But yeah, most likely, myself and Chase have the same management team at Pro Sport. They do a phenomenal job with financial planning and all that stuff. So I know he's going to be good on that side. Not that that was really a concern anyway, but I think that we have to let these drivers do what they need to do to be mentally in this game because it is tough. You travel it. We all travel this circus every single weekend, and it's tough. The grind is hard, and it used to be harder. Yeah, like we used to have to go for 4 days a week, right? But it's still a grind, especially for these team guys. Man, it's unfortunate for him. It really is. I think that NASCAR's. I don't think they've ever not granted a waiver. Um, I love watching Bob Pockrass. He's my favorite NASCAR follow as far as media is concerned. But he's just trying to answer all these questions from people. Yeah, but what if on this waiver? And it's like just stop. Like he's gonna get a waiver, right? And NASCAR did away with the top 30 in points rule. So I mean, he's probably gonna come back here. And in case you missed the race this weekend, the team he drives for is pretty damn fast.
Yes.
I like his chances to win when he
Right.
comes back.
And the new playoff format, he wins the race, right? He just makes the playoffs, and then he's got just as good a chance as anybody else.
He
more or
could
less.
be dead last in the points, and when he comes back, he can vault himself
Yes.
all the way to the front. Now, a good point I heard brought up, Claire Bree brought it up. It was that, or someone that, hey, he is going to be missing out on playoff points. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Very good point.
You didn't think about that initially?
I didn't. That one kind of just went right over my head.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, though, is where as long as he's in the playoffs,
Yeah.
right? He wins a race in the first round, and he's on to the next. He wins a race in that round. So he can. There's a path for him to get to the Final Four without having many playoff points.
Oh, yeah, by winning. And I think he's very
And you said
capable of doing
Hendrick's
that, right? So beyond that, let's just assume, let's just throw out he's out a month. Let's just say a month, and I have no basis for that whatsoever. He's still got many, many months to win a lot of stages and a lot of races. Like, let's not kid ourselves that he's not going to be in some giant hole that he has to work himself out of. Like, I think he's, certainly he is a contender week in, week out for stage wins and race wins. So I don't foresee that being an issue. I think that we just kind of blow up issues because at times we just search for storylines.
Yeah. Also, if Chase wins the championship this year, it would not be the first time that a driver was out for an extended period and won the championship.
Yeah,
Kyle Busch did it.
Yeah, Kyle did it in 15, I think it was. Yeah, it can happen. I can tell you when I blew my ACL out and I had to race just a few days later, I mean, it was not fun. The pain was not fun. I remember, getting my knee drained, seeing the fluid getting sucked out of my knee, just 30 minutes before I go in and race. Like, it was so painful. And for us, our drug testing policy, you can't take any painkillers or anything like that. So, yeah, you just gotta toughen it out. And I mean, with his injury, I've never experienced that, but I'm assuming that if you've been in surgery, it took a 3-hour surgery, then this was a major injury that probably is going to have a lot of pain associated with it.
Outside of the pain and your individual's pain tolerance, how much does it affect your driving ability?
I believe it affects it less than you think. I remember being so hyper focused that I screwed up, blew my knee out. I cannot be the reason that my team struggles. I they always say beware of the injured player in any sport, right? Racing for certain when I've either had adversity or pain or physical pain, I lock in. Absolutely lock in because I want to make sure that I'm giving that team 100%. I guarantee you when Chase comes back, you're going to see a very highly motivated driver.
Now, what's the saying? One man's something happens. Chase goes out. I'm trying to say the opportunity for Josh Berry here is
one
a good
man's
one.
misfortune
Is another man's fortune, right? I think
yeah, that's
something like
not
that.
it, but it's
You get the
something like
point.
that. We get the point.
Josh Berry drove the number 9 for Hendrick Motorsports
Yeah,
today.
he got the call this weekend. Great opportunity for Josh. I'm a huge fan of his. He's got the same really background. He came up the same way I did, which is asphalt late models in the Mid-Atlantic area. I mean, he was so dominant on the short tracks. It's crazy. I mean, he won an Xfinity race at Martinsville early in his career, and he's won several Xfinity races now. I think that he's going to be a full-time Cup guy in the near future. I don't near is a relative term, but I think that he's got the talent to put himself on that list of 36 drivers every Sunday. Um, he had a little bit of a struggle in the race. Obviously, his teammates ran 1, 2, 3, but man, it's such a hard task. He's never driven a next gen car before, and having to go out there with no sim time, no nothing, like it's very very difficult. I thought in practice I was like, wow, he's actually pretty solid. Again, he was a couple, 3-4 tenths off, but his lap times were consistent, and I was like, man, he's getting the hang of this. I think that he's going to do okay. But yeah, I would love to see him get more opportunities in that 9 car. These cars are so different from Xfinity or late models, whatever you've been in the past. But yeah, I'm a big Josh Berry fan. I know that Dale really, invested in him early in his career before they got some full-time sponsorship for him. It does take sponsorship to, you can't just pick out the drivers that you want and put them in a car. You got to have the sponsorship to go with it, the way the model is. So Josh was kind of teetering on whether he was going to be in Xfinity full-time or not a few years ago. And I know that Kelly and Dale Jr. did a good job getting him funded and getting that car on the track. So I think he's, definitely could be one of the Xfinity favorites this year, and someone that we're gonna have to look out for.